And it's the same picture they've been using for the last 40 or 50 years in every textbook. Every other image is what they call a composite. It's Photoshop.
There was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space. But I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
And many of us have been looking at these images of Earth, including the one they called the Big Blue Marble, which was released in 2002, I think. Again, when you zoom into it with Photoshop, you'll see where they've used the clone tool in Photoshop to take a picture of one of the clouds and stamp it in various places around the picture. They got lazy. In another image, they've even photoshopped the word sex in the clouds, which is a subliminal tool they use to get people to sort of relate to something. They literally, you can look at this and you can find it on NASA's website. In a video I'm working on at the moment, I've got a video from what they call the Galileo space probe. As it left Earth, it took a series of shots of Earth, apparently, and you see that over the course of 25 hours, the clouds never move. Okay, now I happened to find some pictures of satellite pictures of Earth, and I noticed that in these separately taken satellite shots, the clouds were exactly the same as the ones in this Galileo shot. So it's a cloud map. It would be very simple indeed to just silence everybody and, you know, put an end to this topic once and for all, turn the Hubble around and show us Earth in real time, zooming in onto a place so that we can see what's happening at that place, and we know that there is something up there looking down on us from space. But they will not do it. They can't do it. It doesn't exist. It literally doesn't exist. If you watch the trajectory of the space shuttle, it doesn't go straight up. It always goes in a curve and out to sea. The point is that they actually go horizontal. The space shuttle goes horizontal. It never goes any further up. It goes horizontal, very, very low down in the atmosphere, because it drops its external tank while it's still in the atmosphere. So, you know, it's still in the atmosphere while it's horizontal, so it never gets any higher, and it goes out of sight, not because it goes too high, because it goes too far downrange. And it seems that nobody's ever on the space shuttle, and the proof of that is the Challenger disaster. In I believe it's 1986, the Challenger exploded just after takeoff and killed 7 astronauts. But it turns out that 6 of the astronauts are still alive, and most of them are using their original names. And you can find pictures of them. They're using the same names, and they're doing ordinary jobs now. Teachers, lecturers, lawyers, whatever. But they're still alive. I think it's a mock-up. I think it's an empty shell, and literally just dishes in the sea, out of sight. And they have a plane that's mocked up to look like a space shuttle, and you can see whenever the space shuttle lands, you can hear it. It's a loud jet engine. You watch any video of the space shuttle landing, you can tell it's a jet engine. It's a jet-powered aircraft. That's it. It's not a glider. In my video, I show you a glider, how that seems, and then I show you the space shuttle, and yeah, it's not a glider. It's an aircraft. And that's what they're fooling us, taking billions of dollars in and giving us images and fake planes. for that 10 billion, you know, however many billions of dollars it is. But you've got the external tank and the space shuttle. Yeah, it's like horizontal at this point, and then they drop the tank. Okay, now the space shuttle isn't powered at this point because the tank has all the fuel.
Yes.
Okay, so when the engine stops, the tank is dropped. Basically, the space shuttle and tank should follow the same path because neither of them are powered. They should both fall in the same way. Now, because the tank has all the fuel, those pods on the back of the space shuttle aren't fuel tanks. They have a very, very small amount of fuel in there for orbital manoeuvring. But from this point, which again is still in the Earth's atmosphere, because the tank, you know, is falling there, it now has to go from there into orbit. They haven't got the fuel there to insert it into orbit. Disney and NASA have worked very closely together. Disney worked with NASA on the moon project. Yeah, they made it, they filmed it so that it would be entertaining for the masses. Yeah, and they're still working with NASA. I absolutely believe that Stanley Kubrick, you know, filmed the moon landing. He left a few clues just to say, so that, you know,
like Michelangelo.
Yeah, so that we eventually would know that this was his work. Yeah, I did this. It's a joke. It was meant to fool people in 1960s. So you got like clear footprints, but yet you don't have an impression where the pads of the lunar lander were, or a blast crater where the engines were blasting downwards. And also, the camera followed the capsule straight up, right? And it followed it very precisely, right? And it stopped when it started to pitch over. Right now, NASA says, "Oh, we did it remotely." Well, there was a 2 or 3 second delay between sending signals and the camera starting to respond, and then another couple of seconds for them to see what's happened. So it's next to impossible to get that sort of accuracy with that kind of and it's only done once. I mean, they can't sort of keep doing it over and get it right. You know, they do it once and they got it right the first time. So no, it's either they left an astronaut on the moon to film them, or it was fake. It was fake. It was absolutely fake. There's not too many people involved in this. I mean, NASA controls space as such. The other agencies have popped up, but literally it's a money-making scheme. NASA makes, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars a year.
Dobra, Rusy.
Okay. The Russians, okay, they're getting in on the act as well. You know, they make money from this. And have you seen the imagery that they put out? The Chinese have put out, or I think it was the Japanese that put out images of Earth from the moon, and it looks even more fake than NASA's ones. It's a money-making scheme, and they're all joining the bandwagon. But, you know, that isn't the first thing that's been hidden over the years. I mean, we're all driving petrol cars because 100 years ago, the Rockefeller family basically cornered the market on oil, and the car industry was going electric. So, you know, all cars would have been electric from the get-go, but they basically forced everybody to use petrol cars, and have hidden this secret. And literally, you know, we could be running around in electric cars that have unlimited mileage by now, but we're still using these 100-year-old machines, dirty machines, because of a secret that's been kept. It's easy. If everybody's been trained into believing that this is real, right? And there's space, and it's within our interest to explore space and you know, go to the moon, go to Mars. Yeah, people will pay for it, and they're making billions. And yeah, there's more to it, because I believe there's a big deception coming, and it's to do with aliens, because now since Roswell, 1947, that was the first time anybody had ever understood the idea of aliens. But since then, we've been bombarded with science fiction and the idea of aliens, and most people believe there are aliens out there. So they've prepared us for an alien invasion or an alien saviour. And I think the flat Earth came along at the right moment to educate people, to make people believe or understand that we've been lied to. And if you know, as I know in my heart now, that that is real, this isn't, I will not be fooled by aliens coming, because there are no aliens. There's no space. Yeah, it's all fantasy by Disney and NASA.